Next week, the New York State Assembly is expected to vote on a bill to require what is called microstamping. The technology codes shell casings, making it easier to track guns used in crimes. But the NRA is waging a campaign to stop the bill in New York and potentially in other states across the country. Joining the panel now is Dan Gross, president of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. It's great to see you, Dan. Let's talk about this legislation, because it seems like a fairly good idea, and yet there has been a huge amount of resistance to this. One gun manufacturing company, Remington, I believe, threatened to pull its operations out of the state if New York does pass this bill. That on the heels of statistics suggesting that 40% of murder investigations nationwide result in no arrest because of lack of evidence. This is a real problem in terms of crime in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple case of right versus wrong. I mean, this is an opportunity to save lives that has nothing to do with gun rights. The opportunity for a law-abiding citizen to own a gun, to hunt, to use it for lawful purposes is just about catching the bad guys. So, I put the question back to the gun lobby or anybody who wants to represent them to say, how could this possibly be bad? It's just about catching the bad guys.
And yet, Essie, you are a gun owner,
yes.
And you seem to have some problems with this.
Well, this is a really silly piece of legislation, and here's why. Because the idea is you track the bullet or the shell casing back to the gun, and then you track the gun back to the owner because ostensibly the owner has registered his gun. Most criminals don't do that. Most criminals don't go and give an address and a form of ID and say, I'd like to legally register my firearm. Most crimes that are committed with guns are committed by people who have not registered their guns, and most gun owners who legally register use that gun legally. So this is really a very silly, and let's not forget, costly piece of legislation to gun manufacturers like Remington.
Just a quick rebuttal on that. There's a lot there, but just on the discrete point you're making about whether this is useful to law enforcement, there are a lot of cases where people get accused of crimes. Gun owners get accused of crimes because they have a gun. If you can go in and say, I did register mine, that doesn't have my bullet stamp on it, so that couldn't have been me. That is a huge help to solving crimes. And in small communities where you have a bunch of people registered and then a few unregistered, it helps narrow the pool. So the idea that people who care about solving crimes wouldn't want more information about the gun and the bullet, even out of the pool of registered law-abiding citizens, is crazy.
But we don't live in a guilty until proven innocent community. We live in an innocent until proven guilty community, and it is not up to a legal, law-abiding gun owner to prove his innocence in a case.
The gun lobby says that they're all about catching the bad guys, about prosecuting the bad guys. How could this be a bad thing if it helps us catch the bad guys?
It's very expensive. Just ask gun manufacturers.
All right, just ask gun manufacturers. That's another point that you had embedded in what you said there in the beginning. There is a cap in this legislation that you called silly on $12 per gun.
Right.
That's very expensive. At what cost is the savior of human lives? At what cost is catching the bad guys, the people who are murdering other people?
Like most, gun control, like most gun laws, it only punishes law-abiding citizens.
This isn't gun control. This has nothing to do with the opportunity to buy guns in our country.
The thing about gun control is nobody gets heated or passionate about it.
But this isn't gun control. This is about catching the bad guys. That's an important point.
That's the interesting thing, Heather, is that and Essie, I would love to get your thoughts on this too, but any effort to in any way touch the issue of weaponry, guns in this country is always met with extreme resistance from the NRA. This is, you have folks that are gun advocates effectively saying this amounts to a gun ban. I mean, this is something that doesn't even touch, I believe it doesn't, not rifles, not revolvers. This is just semi-automatic weaponry.
After the fact, after the guns have already been purchased, after they're already out there. This does not prevent anybody from buying or selling a gun, period. So how can you call it gun control?
This is the problem with the professionalization of lobbying and advocacy in this country. There are thousands of people whose only job it is to make hysteria about guns. They don't get paid unless there is something for them to go to Washington and state houses to go and yell at state legislators and congresspeople about. They simply don't get paid. And so, of course, every single idea of anything that touches guns is going to be a reason for them to, ask somebody to write a check.
Well, I'm not a professional lobbyist, and I don't get paid to raise hysteria. I'm a gun owner, and I deeply care about these issues. And this is part of this slow creep
and you're the most
into our rights as gun owners.
But do you really?
It's bigger than that. that.
You're representing
It is
the
bigger
point of
than
view
that.
of the gun industry. It is the gun industry. Let's look at what's going on here. This is an industry that at all costs wants to protect its profits, and it does it at the cost of human lives.
No, it wants to protect the Second Amendment, which is
I want to know, as a gun owner, you say you're under assault.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's like extremist rhetoric, and that's extremist rhetoric.
No, it's the truth. Ask a gun owner.
What is under assault? How is this an assault on the Second Amendment, saying that we want to put microstamping on a bullet casing that will help us catch criminals after they've committed it? How is that an assault on your Second Amendment
gun
rights?
owners that are legal gun owners use their guns legally and do not want to have to be tracked as if they are criminals.
That's that anti-government paranoia, anti-law enforcement
not
paranoia.
paranoia.
Why is
It's
law
happening.
enforcement so in
It would
favor
be
of this?
paranoia
Why is law
if it's not happening. It's happening.
It's paranoia.
Okay. Essie, I got to ask you. I mean, if you are a reasonable gun owner is sitting in the middle of the country and watching this, is it not a little bit suspect? And to the question of anything dealing with firearms, regardless of how insignificant it is, there is a pushback, and that there is this this incredible defense trigger.
You're right.
The defense mechanism is on a hair trigger.
You're right.
And I think for people who want to be reasonable about the Second Amendment and want to be reasonable about gun rights, it seems like there is absolutely no room to debate, to make incremental changes to the law, to create, to strengthen public
I'm not
safety.
going to argue with you. I think this issue has become incredibly heated, and there's a lot of reasons why, and both sides add to that hair trigger sort of gut reaction to these issues.
I don't accept that.
Well, that's okay, but both sides contribute to this, because after a big shooting like Gabby Giffords or Trayvon Martin, there is huge hysteria and paranoia about guns, and we have to ban guns, and then gun owners react.
To ban guns.
Are you kidding?
Show me one word that's ever come out of my mouth or the mouth of the Brady.
Well, I don't follow everything
campaign.
you say, but I can tell you that.
No, I can tell you
the anti-gun lobby.
There's nobody that's anti-gun. We are anti.
Nobody's anti-gun.
No, we are anti-killing people.
Okay.
Doing things that could prevent.
People kill people. Guns don't.
And it's usually people with guns.
Dan, Essie, friends, I will tell you this much. After Trayvon Martin and after Gabby Giffords, nothing's been done on gun control, my friend.
You're right.
Nothing.
You're right.
Big goose egg.